The Galactic Summit on the neutral world of Virelis was meant to be a historic gathering of the unified species Concord. Representatives from over 200 civilizations had come together to discuss peace, share resources, and face a growing threat known as the Void Maw, a mysterious force that was swallowing entire star systems without warning. Among the delegations was a small human group, led by Captain Leo Hayes and his aide Dr. Maya Brooks. Humans were still new to the interstellar stage, often seen as loud, emotional, and far too young as a spacefaring species. Most aliens treated them with polite indifference or quiet amusement. The summit's main chamber, called the Grand Atrium of the Celestial Spire, stood at the heart of Virelis. Its walls shimmered with living crystal and the air hummed with soft energy. Delegates moved through the space in flowing robes, armored shells, or floating bubbles of breathable gas, depending on their biology. Humans, by contrast, wore simple navy blue uniforms with minimal insignia. They stuck close to the edges, careful not to draw attention. Leo Hayes was tall for a human with tired eyes and a calm voice. He had spent most of his career mediating conflicts on Earth's orbital stations, not negotiating with beings who could reshape matter with thought. Maya Brooks, sharp and observant, carried a datapad that barely worked in the spire's strange fields. She kept glancing at the massive structure at the far end of the room, the obsidian throne. The throne sat alone on a raised dais, carved from a single piece of black stone that seemed to drink the light around it. Legend said it was forged from a meteorite older than most known civilizations. It had belonged to the first emperor, a being whose name had been lost to time but whose rule had once united dozens of warring species. The throne was said to respond only to a true sovereign, someone with the right spirit, not just power or bloodline. No one had activated it in over 3,000 years. It was now more of a relic than a seat of authority. During a formal reception held on the second evening of the summit, drinks and strange delicacies were served. The mood was tense but civil. Then Corvex, the Zenthar ambassador, made his move. The Zenthar were tall, six-limbed beings with smooth, chitinous skin and voices like grinding stone. They prided themselves on order, discipline, and ancient lineage. They also disliked humans, seeing them as chaotic and disrespectful of tradition. Corvex approached Leo with a slow, deliberate stride. His lower arms gestured toward the throne. "Captain Hayes," he said, his translator rendering the words in flat, emotionless English. "Your species claims to value courage. Prove it. Sit in the Emperor's throne." A ripple of laughter spread through the nearby delegates. Some recorded the moment on tiny hovering lenses. Others whispered behind veils or energy shields. It was clearly a joke, a way to embarrass the humans by reminding them of their place. No one expected Leo to actually do it. Even Maya shook her head slightly, her eyes wide with warning. But Leo hesitated only a second. He had learned long ago that backing down from a challenge in front of aliens often made things worse. With a small nod to Maya, he walked toward the dais. His boots clicked softly against the polished floor. The crowd parted silently, watching with a mix of curiosity and mockery. He reached the throne. It looked cold and heavy, its surface smooth but unnaturally dark. He turned and sat. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the throne flared with golden light. A deep hum filled the chamber, vibrating through the floor and into the bones of everyone present. The black stone glowed from within, veins of gold spreading like roots across its surface. The air shimmered and a low chime echoed, clear, ancient, and undeniable. The light rose around Leo, not burning, but wrapping him in a soft radiance that made his shadow stretch long across the floor. The laughter died instantly. Corvex stepped back, all six limbs stiff with shock. Maya dropped her datapad. Delegates froze mid-step, mid-bite, mid-whisper. Even the ambient hum of the spire seemed to pause in reverence. No one moved. No one spoke. The throne had accepted him. It made no sense. Humans had no empire. They had no divine right. They had barely left their home system 50 years ago. Yet the throne, silent for millennia, had chosen Leo Hayes, a man who had never ruled anything larger than a space station supply depot. The golden glow faded slowly, leaving only a faint warmth in the air. Leo stood up, confused and slightly dizzy. He looked around at the sea of stunned faces, some fearful, some awed, some furious. He didn't understand what had just happened, but he knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same. Maya rushed to his side, her voice low and urgent. "Leo, what did you feel?" "Nothing," he whispered. "Just calm, like I belonged there." Back in their quarters later, the human delegation gathered in hushed panic. News of the event had already spread across the Concord network. Some called it a miracle. Others claimed sabotage. The Zenthar demanded an investigation, insisting the throne had been tampered with. But when a Vrathi warlord tried to sit in it the next morning, just to prove it was broken, the throne remained cold and dead. So did a Lumini elder, a Xylosian prince, and even a machine intelligence that projected its consciousness into a synthetic body. None of them triggered even a flicker. Only Leo could awaken it. That night, as he lay awake in his narrow bunk, Leo heard a faint sound, not with his ears, but in his mind. It was like a whisper made of starlight, speaking in no language yet somehow clear. It showed him images, a dark wave moving through space, stars winking out one by one, and a chain of ancient towers hidden in forgotten corners of the galaxy. The message was simple, urgent, and terrifying. The Void Maw was coming, and the throne had chosen him not as a joke, but as a shield. The morning after the throne's activation, the grand atrium of the Celestial Spire was sealed off by Concord guards. No one was allowed near the obsidian throne except for a small team of archivists from the Lumini, a gentle, light-skinned species known for their devotion to history and harmony. They moved slowly around the throne, scanning it with soft glowing instruments murmuring in their melodic tongue. Their leader, Elder Nira, finally turned to Leo and spoke in careful, translated English. "The throne has spoken. It recognizes you as the chosen regent." Leo didn't like the title. It sounded too grand for a man who still checked his boots for mud before entering meetings. But the archivists insisted the throne's judgment was final. According to ancient texts, the chosen regent was not a ruler in the usual sense, but a guide, one who could awaken the galaxy's forgotten defenses when the Great Silence returned. No one had taken those texts seriously in centuries. Now they did. Back aboard the human ship Horizon, docked in Varelli's orbital ring, tension filled the air. The crew moved quietly, avoiding Leo's gaze. Even Maya, usually direct and calm, seemed unsure how to act around him. She sat with him in the mess hall, stirring her coffee without drinking it. "They're calling you a prophet on 3 news nets," she said. "2 others say you're a fraud. The Zenthar are demanding your arrest for spiritual contamination." Leo rubbed his temples. "I didn't ask for this." "I know," Maya replied. "But the throne chose you. That means something, even if we don't understand it yet." Over the next few days, alien delegations began approaching Leo, not with mockery now, but with questions. The Vrathi, a warlike species with armored hides and sharp voices, sent a general who offered Leo a place in their command council if he would share the throne's secrets. The Xylosians, who communicated through scent and color shifts, sent a silent envoy who simply bowed and left a crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Even the Zenthar returned, this time with lowered limbs and formal apologies, though their eyes still held suspicion. But not everyone was kind. Rumors spread that humans had planted hidden tech inside the throne. Some claimed Leo had used forbidden mind-altering drugs to trick the artifact. A fringe group of anti-human extremists even posted threats on the Concord data streams. Security around the horizon was doubled. Then came the visions. They started as dreams, fleeting images of dark space, broken planets, and a wave of nothingness moving faster than light. But soon they came while Leo was awake. He would be walking down a corridor and suddenly see stars vanish in a ripple of gray. He would hear a low hum like the throne's, but colder. Each time the vision ended with the same symbol, a spiral with 7 points glowing faintly in deep space. Maya noticed his exhaustion. She ran scans, checked his vitals, even consulted a Lumine healer. Nothing was physically wrong. "It's not your body," the healer said gently. "It's your mind being used as a channel. The throne is showing you what is coming." Determined to understand, Leo and Maya requested access to the Spire's ancient archives. After days of negotiation, they were granted limited entry. Inside a chamber lined with floating memory stones, they found records of the first Emperor's final decree. He had not ruled through force, but through unity. When a great darkness threatened the galaxy long ago, he built a network of beacons, 7 in total, hidden on dead worlds and silent moons. These beacons, when activated in the right order, would form a shield against the void. The last entry was a warning. Only the one the throne accepts may awaken the chain. All others will bring silence sooner. Leo felt a chill. The spiral symbol from his visions matched the map of the beacon locations. The first one was on Kale 7, a barren moon once sacred to the first emperor's followers. It had been abandoned for over 2,000 years. Before they could act, the Zenthar made their move. Ambassador Corvex appeared before the full Concord Council, his voice sharp with accusation. This human has no right to the throne's power. He does not understand our laws, our history, or our balance. If he activates the beacons without wisdom, he may tear the galaxy apart. The council was divided. Some agreed with Corvex. Others argued that the throne's choice must be honored. In the end, no decision was made, but a silent race began. Every major faction now wanted to reach Kale 7 first. Leo knew they couldn't wait. That night, he and Maya gathered a small team. 2 engineers, a pilot named Jess Carter, and a linguist who could read ancient glyphs. They loaded the horizon with supplies and slipped away from Virelli's under the cover of a solar flare. As the ship jumped to warp, Leo looked out the viewport at the shrinking spire. He didn't feel like a regent or a hero. He just felt responsible. The journey to Kale 7 took 3 days. The moon was gray and lifeless, its surface cracked by ancient quakes. Dust storms swirled in slow motion under a dim red sun. Scans showed a structure buried beneath the largest crater, a spire just like in Leo's visions. They landed near the crater's edge. The air was thin but breathable with filters. As they climbed down into the dust, the ground trembled slightly. Jess checked her scanner. There's energy down there, old but active. At the center of the crater stood a stone arch, half buried. Carved into it was the 7-point spiral. Leo stepped forward. The moment his hand touched the stone, the ground split open, revealing a staircase leading down. Inside, the air was still. Walls glowed with faint runes. At the bottom of the stairs stood the beacon, a tall, slender tower of the same black stone as the throne. It pulsed once as Leo approached, as if recognizing him. He placed both hands on it. Light exploded outward, not blinding, but warm and golden. The beacon rose from the ground, unfolding like a flower made of starlight. A tone echoed across the moon, then through space itself. Far away, on other worlds, other beacons flickered in response. Back on the horizon, alarms blared. "Something's happening," Jess shouted. All 7 beacon locations just lit up on long-range scans. "They're sinking." Maya stared at the screen, eyes wide. "You didn't just wake one beacon, Leo. You started the whole chain." As the ship lifted off, Leo looked back at the glowing spire. He didn't know what came next, but he knew one thing for sure. The galaxy was watching, and the joke was long over. News of the beacon's activation spread faster than any ship could fly. Within hours, every major species in the Concord knew that the first of the 7 ancient towers had awakened. Data streams lit up with speculation, fear, and hope. Some saw it as proof that the chosen regent was real. Others called it a dangerous act of human recklessness. The Zenthar issued a formal warning. Any attempt to activate another beacon would be treated as an act of war. Leo and his team returned to the horizon, shaken but focused. The beacon on Kale 7 still glowed faintly in their rear sensors, a steady pulse like a heartbeat. Maya studied the data pouring in from the ship's long-range array. "The other 6 beacons are responding," she said, her voice tight with awe. "Not fully, but they're aware. It's like they've been sleeping and you just whispered their names." Jess Carter, the pilot, leaned over the console. "We've got company. 3 Vrathi warships just dropped out of warp near the outer edge of the system. They're not attacking yet, but they're watching." Leo knew they couldn't stay. The Vrathi respected strength, but they also feared anything they couldn't control. If they thought humans were unlocking weapons of mass power, they might destroy the beacons or Leo himself to stop it. He gave the order to jump to the next location, a frozen moon orbiting a dead star in the Draen expanse. The second beacon was there, buried under ice that hadn't melted in 10,000 years. The journey was tense. The crew spoke little. Everyone felt the weight of what they'd started. Leo spent most of his time in the observation deck, staring at the stars, trying to quiet the hum in his mind. The throne's whispers had grown stronger since Kale 7. Now they came as clear images. The void maw wasn't just empty space, it was alive. It fed on chaos, on fear, on broken connections between beings. The beacons didn't fight it with force. They fought it with unity. When they arrived at the Drayan expanse, the system was dark and cold. The moon, called Vesh 9, was a ball of ice wrapped in perpetual night. Scans showed a massive structure beneath the surface, shaped like a coiled serpent. But before they could land, a Vrathi cruiser blocked their path. A voice crackled over the comm. "Human vessel Horizon, power down your engines. You are not permitted to approach the sacred ice." Leo stepped to the comm station. "This isn't about permission. The beacon must be awakened. The Vrathi High Command has declared all beacon sites under military protection," the voice replied. "You will stand down," Maya whispered. "They're scared. They think you'll give the power to Earth." Leo took a breath. "Tell them I'm not here for Earth, I'm here for everyone." He opened a full-channel broadcast not just to the Vrathi ship, but to every listening ear in the sector. "My name is Leo Hayes. I didn't ask for this role, but the throne chose me because I'm willing to protect all of you, not just my own kind. The Void Maw doesn't care if you're Vrathi, Zenthar, or human. It will take you all. The beacons are the only defense we have. Let me do what I was chosen to do." Silence followed. Then slowly the Vrathi cruiser moved aside. They landed on Vesh 9 in a storm of frozen nitrogen. The cold bit through their suits, but the beacon's energy kept the immediate area warm. Deep in the ice cavern, they found the second tower, this one made of crystal instead of stone. It shimmered like frozen lightning. Leo touched it, and light burst through the ice, turning the whole moon into a glowing blue jewel. Again the chain reacted. 2 beacons now pulsed in harmony, sending waves of calm energy across nearby systems. On the edge of known space, a Vrathi patrol ship reported that the Void Maw's advance had slowed near their sector. It was the first real proof that the beacons worked, but not everyone was convinced. The Zenthar launched a propaganda campaign, claiming the beacons were destabilizing reality. They showed doctored data of stars flickering, of time distortions near activated sites. Fear spread. A small fleet of mixed-species ships calling themselves the Guardians of Balance formed to stop Leo from reaching the third beacon. The third site was on a desert world called Orland's Rest, once a burial ground for ancient kings. By the time the Horizon arrived, the Guardians were already there, blocking the canyon where the beacon lay hidden. Their leader, a Zelosian named Trell, spoke through a translator. "You have gone too far, human. The old powers were sealed for a reason. You risk waking something worse than the Maw." Leo stepped out of the ship alone, hands open. "I'm not waking anything. I'm lighting a lamp in the dark. The Maw's already here. Look at your own borders. Systems are vanishing." "You know it's true." Trell hesitated. Then a new voice cut in over the comms. Elder Nira of the Lumini. Her ship appeared in orbit. "The archives speak clearly. The beacons must all be lit or none will hold. Stand down, Guardians. This is not your fight to stop." After a long pause, Trell bowed his head and ordered his ships to withdraw. Inside the canyon, the third beacon rose from the sand as Leo approached. This one was made of bronze and sang as it activated, a low, mournful note that echoed across the dunes. With 3 beacons now awake, the network grew stronger. Strange things began to happen. Plants sprouted on dead moons. Lost signals returned from vanished colonies. Even the air on Varellis tasted sweeter, but the Void Maw responded in kind. Far beyond the outer rim, it consumed an entire nebula in one night, growing darker, hungrier, and it was moving faster. Back on the horizon, Maya showed Leo a new vision the throne had sent. This one was clearer than the others. It showed a place at the very center of the galaxy, a hidden structure called the Celestial Forge. The beacons were not the final defense. They were keys, and the forge was the lock. "We have to reach it before the Maw does," Leo said. Jess nodded, already plotting the course. "That's deep in uncharted space. No ships ever come back from there." "Then we'll be the first," Leo replied. As the horizon jumped to warp, the 3 beacons pulsed behind them, holding back the dark just a little longer. The joke was long gone. Now it was a race against the end of everything. Leo returned to Varellis not as a guest, but as a storm. The horizon dropped out of warp above the celestial spire, with shields flickering and engines groaning from the strain of back-to-back jumps. 3 beacons now glowed across the galaxy, their light forming a fragile net against the spreading dark. But the Void Maw had grown bolder. It had swallowed 2 more systems in the last week, and its edge was now visible on long-range scans, a wall of nothingness eating stars like embers in a wind. The spire's command hailed them immediately. Horizon, you are ordered to stand down and surrender Captain Hayes for questioning. Leo didn't answer. He knew the Zenthar had turned the Conquered Council against him. They claimed the beacons were drawing the Maw closer, not holding it back. They called Leo a reckless child playing with forces he couldn't understand. And now they wanted him silenced. But the throne's visions had grown urgent. It showed him the Celestial Forge, not just a place but a machine of impossible scale hidden at the galaxy's heart. It could weave reality itself, but only if powered by the full beacon chain and guided by a will that valued all life equally. The throne had chosen Leo not because he was strong, but because he was willing to lose everything for others, even for beings who hated him. As the Horizon descended toward the Spire's landing ring, alarms blared. "Zenthar fighters incoming," Jess called from the cockpit. 6 of them. They're locking weapons. Maya gripped the console. They're not warning shots this time. Leo made a choice. "Open all channels. Broadcast to every ship, every station, every listening ear in the Conquered." His voice filled the comm waves, calm but firm. "My name is Leo Hayes. I stand before you not as a ruler, not as a warrior, but as someone who saw a child cry on this very spire and chose to help, before the throne ever lit up. The Void Maw doesn't care about your pride or your politics. It will erase you all unless we act together. The beacons are not weapons. They are a call. And the Forge is the answer." For a moment, silence. Then from the Luminae fleet station nearby, a single ship moved, not to attack, but to shield the Horizon. Then another joined. A Vrathi cruiser, one that had once threatened Leo, powered up its forward shields and turned to face the Zenthar fighters. The Zenthar commander, Corvex himself, appeared on screen, his face tight with fury. "You think words will save you? The throne is broken. You are a glitch in an ancient system." "No," Leo said. "I'm the reminder that the system was built for compassion, not control." Before Corvex could reply, the obsidian throne, still seated in the grand atrium, flared again, though Leo wasn't near it. Golden light poured through the spire's windows, washing over the landing platforms. The Zenthar fighters faltered, their weapons powered down. In that moment of confusion, Jess pushed the Horizon into emergency ascent. "We're leaving, now." But the Zenthar weren't done. As the ship broke orbit, a heavy cruiser emerged from the shadow of Virellis' moon. It fired not at the Horizon, but at the spire itself, specifically at the chamber holding the throne. Corvex had decided that if he couldn't have the throne, no one would. The blast shook the spire. Stone cracked. Windows shattered. And in the chaos, Maya, who had stayed behind to retrieve critical beacon data from the archives, was caught in the collapse. Leo watched the feed from her suit cam as debris rained down. She was trapped under a fallen beam, her oxygen low. "Go," she whispered over the comm. "Don't stop for me," he almost did. Every instinct told him to turn back. But then he remembered the throne's final lesson. True leadership meant letting others choose their own path. Maya had stayed to help the mission. He had to honor that. He gave Jess new coordinates, the last known location of the 4th beacon, deep in the ruins of a dead civilization called the Sealan Reach. "We finished this," he said. The journey was grim. The crew worked in silence, grief and guilt heavy in the air. But 2 days later, a miracle came. A small Luminae rescue skiff appeared on their sensors. It carried Maya, bruised but alive. The Luminae had pulled her from the rubble just before the Zenthar sealed the spire. When she stepped onto the Horizon's deck, Leo didn't speak. He just hugged her, and for the first time since the throne had lit up, he let himself feel afraid. She told them what she'd learned in the archives. The Celestial Forge wasn't just a machine, it was a test. It required not one mind but many, wills from different species all agreeing on one choice: to protect, not to conquer. The beacons were meant to prepare the galaxy for that moment of unity, but time was running out. The Maw was now only weeks away from the inner systems. With Maya back, they activated the 4th beacon on a floating island in the Sealan Reach. This one was made of living wood, and it bloomed with silver leaves as it rose. The network grew stronger. Stars near the Maw's edge stopped vanishing. Hope returned, but the Zenthar struck again. This time they didn't send fighters. They sent a virus, a data plague designed to corrupt the beacon signals. For hours the Horizon's systems glitched. The beacons flickered. Leo felt the throne's voice in his mind grow weak. Then Maya found the flaw. The virus couldn't touch the core frequency. the one tied to Leo's own heartbeat, the one the throne had synced to on day one. She rerouted the signal through his biorhythm. The beacons stabilized. In that moment, Leo understood the throne's true purpose. It wasn't about power. It was about connection. The first emperor hadn't ruled because he was strong. He had led because he cared more for others than for himself. And that was something only a human, flawed, fragile, and fiercely kind, could still offer in a galaxy that had forgotten how to care. The final jump to the galactic core was the hardest. The horizon shuddered as it tore through warped space, its hull groaning under pressures no ship was meant to survive. Outside, the stars bent into spirals and the darkness ahead wasn't empty. It was hungry. The void maw had reached the inner rim. Entire constellations were gone, replaced by a smooth, silent nothing that swallowed light and time alike. Only the 4 awakened beacons held it back, their golden pulses forming a trembling shield across the galaxy's heart. Leo stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the view screen. Maya was beside him, hands steady on the comms array. Jess held the ship steady with gritted teeth. They had activated the 5th and 6th beacons on the way, on a drowned city beneath an ocean moon and inside a hollow asteroid shaped like a skull. Each one had flared to life the moment Leo touched it, and with every activation the network grew stronger, clearer. But the 7th beacon wasn't a tower or a spire. It was the celestial forge itself, and it was waiting. As they dropped out of warp, the sight stole their breath. At the exact center of the galaxy floated a structure so vast it bent space around it. It looked like a flower made of light and geometry, petals of pure energy unfolding and closing in slow rhythm. This was the forge, the last creation of the first emperor, built not to destroy but to heal. But it was dormant. Leo knew what had to be done. He turned to Maya. The throne showed me the truth. The forge doesn't need a ruler. It needs a chorus. He opened a full-spectrum broadcast stronger than any before. His voice reached every ship, every station, every listening mind from the outer rim to the core. I'm not here to command you. I'm here to ask. The Void Maw doesn't care if you're Zenthar, Vrathi, Lumini, or human. It will erase us all unless we choose to stand together. Not as armies, not as empires, but as neighbors. If you believe in something beyond fear, send your voice. Send your will. Not to me, to each other. For a long moment there was only static. Then a single note rose from the Lumine fleet. A harmony chant, soft and ancient. A Vrathi warship responded with a pulse of its main engine, timed to the same rhythm. The Xylosians released clouds of colored mist that shimmered in resonance. Even the Zenthar, watching from a distance, fell silent. Not in defiance, but in awe. One by one, species across the conquered added their signal. Not commands. Not demands. Just presence. A shared yes. The forge stirred. Its petals opened wide, drinking in the chorus of 1,000 civilizations. Light poured from its core, brighter than 1,000 suns but gentle as dawn. The 7th beacon, the heart of the network, ignited. Leo felt it in his bones. The throne's voice, now clear and warm, spoke not in words but in feeling. This was what unity looked like. Then the maw came. It hit the forge's light like a wave against a cliff. But instead of breaking, the light wrapped around the darkness, not fighting it but filling it. Where the maw had erased stars, new ones sparked into being. Fractured space stitched itself back together. Time, which had slowed near the void, began to flow normally again. The maw didn't vanish, it changed. It became part of the pattern, no longer a destroyer but a reminder of balance. On the horizon, alarms fell silent. The ship floated in calm space, bathed in golden radiance. Back on Varelli's, the obsidian throne crumbled into fine black dust. Its purpose was done. No one would sit in it again because no one needed to. The galaxy had remembered how to lead itself. In the days that followed, the Concord held no grand ceremony. There were no medals, no titles. Leo declined every offer of power. He asked only for one thing, that humans be seen not as jokes or threats but as equals. He and Maya returned to Earth. The sky looked the same, blue, wide, full of clouds. But everything had changed. News of the forge spread. Children drew pictures of beacons in school. Old enemies shared star charts. The galaxy didn't become perfect overnight, but it began to listen. Years later, Leo would sit on his porch at sunset, watching fireflies blink in the garden. Maya would bring him tea and smile. They never spoke much about the throne or the maw. They didn't need to. The proof was in the quiet peace, in the ships that now visited Earth not with suspicion, but with curiosity. And sometimes, on very still nights, Leo would feel a faint hum in his chest, not from the throne but from the galaxy itself. A reminder that he had once sat in a chair as a joke, and in doing so helped the stars remember how to shine.